that was a couple takes, and now I could hardly talk. Anyways, hi, welcome back to this series. What's up? And oh, another episode. What wonderful consistency, Kian. How unlike you. I know. It's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited, and I've done some cool buildings I want to show you. I did a house, and I finished this house, and I finished this. And this actually has an interior. I just thought it was kind of homely, you know, not super detailed, but who needs fancy detail like that anyways? This is supposed to be clean. I'm getting off track, though. Today, what I want to focus on is I want to focus on this alleyway here, as well as eventually the thingy over there that I talked about last episode. But first, let's talk a little bit about the sort of theme I want to discuss throughout this episode. I'm gesturing with my hands again and not moving my mouse. It's a bad habit of mine. Anyways, that theme is packaging detail. Now, Kian, what is packaging detail? Well, it's, how you package your detail. You know, what sort of detail you choose to add and what detail you choose not to. And what form the detail takes. And the reason I wanted that to be the theme of this episode is because you'll notice that these houses aren't particularly well detailed. And that's something I wanted to talk about because I don't really want to detail them all that much. And I find in a lot of cases that doesn't seem to be a very popular consensus among people who are trying to learn to build. So I thought it would be sort of a fun little side project in this episode to explore detailing piece by piece and how it works for me in this sort of case where maybe I'm not packing every surface with detail. So what's my detail deal anyways? Well, I've got a couple signs of advice that I generally give out and that I've followed for these builds, all of these builds here. And one of them is to start simple, not committing to any sort of fancy detail. I tend to try to get my structure in place before I end up doing any sort of detail planning at all. For example, if I were to commit to a fancy window like this, which I absolutely could have done for that build over there, I would not have been able to fit it into the structure, because the structure is not capable of holding that. So what I would have had to do is format the structure in a way that is. And that can bloat builds monstrously and just burn you out all the heck. Another piece of advice that I like to follow is let the structure that you do end up making dictate the detail you include. For example, these houses ended up starting as just blank slates. And for a lot of angles of them, they remained that way. For example, this wall here, I didn't detail nearly at all. I have some windows, I've got the gradient, and some vines, but only on one side. And that's it, because the environment does the detail for me. If I were to pack this with detail, say I do a line of signs down here, which is going to take a while, I'm not going to place them on camera, or a line of trapdoors or something, that might look nice on its own. However, combined with any other detail I add especially, in this circumstance, it will quickly become overwhelming. So the best approach I've found to doing detail is to simply let your structures be, let them sit, and if they still don't look right or don't look detailed enough, even in the context they're meant to be in, then it's time to go nuts with the detail, like this here. Now, I thought this was kind of bland just sitting like that, so I added a line of signs. And really, you could add a line of signs here and not really ruin it. However, it's down to personal preference, which is basically a way of saying the line at which you draw your amount of detail is pretty arbitrary. However, I found that this piece of advice helps me out quite a lot. It's less applicable for individual builds, however, it still works for things with, different components like a castle with towers or keeps. Anyways, before I get distracted, let me show you what I've done. I've made the path dirt, as you can see. I've been kind of not wanting to do that because I didn't want this road to be dirt. I wanted it to be like a clay. However, I thought the clay was a little bit too sharp and the other one was kind of dull. I used regular clay off camera. You didn't see that. So I thought this color was nice. I don't like how noisy it is, but I'm going to deal with it. Maybe I'll change it later. Anyways, my plan for this area is to have this piece right here act as sort of like a balcony that goes all the way through this part of the city. And of course, in doing so, it's going to go down. Now, why is it going down, Kian? Well, because I want to have this sort of area made in steps. So right here, you can see I've marked here as well. I want there to be sort of like a mini retaining wall with buildings immediately on the other side that are, say, 5 meters down or 10 meters down. I haven't quite done the distance yet. And then the roofs will poke up just over here. Above here, there'll be, a small retaining wall, like I said. And the hope is that this, from the center of the city, is going to be visible as sort of like a terrace. And from this end of on the terrace, the city is going to be visible just over the peaks of the roofs of the just over the peaks of the roofs of the buildings below. Man, that is a mouthful. And then I thought this would be a nice little intersection for a road to continue out that way and then continue out this way. I have to keep in mind that you can't read my mind. That's a bit of a struggle with me sometimes, as I assume you know something that really you have no way of knowing. So I kind of, there we go. I hope that's enough information. Hi. Do you ever begin to say something and then completely lose track of what you were gonna do? Yeah, it's a building. Hooray! I've run out of energy to record, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Yeah, so this is probably gonna be like an apartment complex or something. It's got a little extra piece over here for, I guess, more independent living, and then in here I plan on having a bit of a tall garden and then some staircases on the outsides of both of these sides leading up to different levels of the building, so it'll be kind of like a weird motel of sorts, or an apartment, I guess. But yeah, that's this building. But the main thing I want to discuss regarding this building is the way I chose to detail it, which, as you can see in a lot of places, isn't very substantial. Now, of course, I could add more detail. Like, I could add a pillar of some kind here, right? And if I did it right, it wouldn't look entirely out of place. However, I've got to draw the line somewhere, and I think here is a good spot to draw it because it is closer to what it would be like in real life. And that's sort of a goal of this city, is to make it plausible in real life. If you watched my first episode, you would hear me talk about that some more. So yeah, there's this building. I'm pretty happy with it. Not too sure about the color of the roofs, but to be honest, I'm kind of digging the somewhat standardized roofs in these buildings. I think it works. I hope I didn't put you to sleep with that. I recorded it like 6 times, so you're gonna hear one of the recordings, but they're all kind of rambly. Sorry. Well, it's not exactly a tree library per se, like I kind of promised last episode, but it's something. It's up there, right? I was hanging out in a voice channel in Pearlescent Moon's Discord and kind of talked to some people and got these done while I was doing so. It made it a lot more fun than just doing it alone. And I think that's a cool piece of advice. If you're having trouble getting some aspect of your build done that you just don't want to do, try talking to people while doing it. It helps a lot. It can make the experience quite a lot more entertaining. And whoa, what am I doing? Anyways, yeah, so we've got these trees, a couple examples of those. I've got some cherry trees with cobwebs underneath because I said so. We've got this little tree that I'm not going to remove ever. And we've got these nice ornamental cedar trees. Oh yeah, and then there's this cool drain pipe, which I'm really proud of. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about this episode. A good place to end, I think. Oh man, I'm really messing up the F5 today. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to leave a comment and tell me how I did, go ahead. You have any questions, of course, go ahead and ask them. I'll respond. And have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah, before I go, I wanted to talk a little bit about this weird lighting glitch I had with my slab roofs. I've since fixed it, as you can see here, by adding another layer of slabs underneath to make everything essentially 2 slabs thick, but I'm not sure how it happened initially. It's an interesting way of the lighting engine to work. I'm thinking it's something to do with the lighting engine only really working with full blocks, but then again, I'm not sure at all. So if you have any insight onto it, do let me know. This is something I'm curious about.